The Brompton 6-Speed, a bike that is truly loved within the Brompton community and has shown us time and time again its reliability and why it is such a great staple to the Brompton bike lineup. Now with the introduction of the 12 speeds and the new technologies that came with that and the weight savings, does the 6-Speed even hold up anymore, and would it even make sense for Brompton to keep this in the lineup? Well, today we look through the current and existing Brompton lineup, and we're going to look at why the 6-Speed itself has now been discontinued by Brompton. So let's cut right into it and let's cue the intro.
He's the Brompton Guy!
So yes, the Brompton C-Line has discontinued the 6-Speed variation of the Brompton Electric. They've now paved way for the new technologies and now offer a 12-speed and 4-speed exclusive variation of the bike online. Now, they haven't touched the original C-Line variation yet, and I will cover the reasons for that later on in this video, but looking at the electric version, does it actually come at any surprise why they've taken this out the lineup? At first, I didn't really think too much about it, but once I actually deep dived into the numbers, the costs and the weights of the bike, it really wouldn't have made any sense to keep the bike in there at all. And let me go over those numbers with you so we can check the difference in it. The Brompton 6-Speed C-Line was priced at £2,995 and weighed in at 17.4 kilograms. That bike had obviously been around for a while and has now been superseded with the new Brompton 12-Speed, which is priced at £3,100 and only weighs in at 17.3 kilograms. So for double your gearing, you're actually dropping weight of the bike. That makes it much lighter than a 6-speed Brompton and only £155 more expensive. Now, if you look at those numbers alone, it would be absolute madness to consider the 6-speed itself. Now, I have looked fairly hard to try and talk about something that is a pro for the 6-speed itself, but when you're looking at those numbers, it just doesn't make any sense to consider that as an option for a bike, especially if you're already opting for the more expensive electric versions of it. Now, £155, yeah, it's a saving, but it's definitely not worth the saving of losing 6 gears. So I would say in this occasion, they've definitely made the right choice to drop the bike from the line. Now, with the drop of the 6-speed, Brompton have obviously then capitalised in on the exclusive releases, they're calling it on their website, of the 4-speed electric C-Line. Essentially, instead of having the hub gear also, they're just throwing your 4-speed derailleur setup on the bike itself. Now, that does actually come out with some interesting numbers itself. So let's fire them up on screen just now. The 4-speed electric C-Line comes in at a cost of £2,900, which is £250 cheaper and weighs even less than what the 6-speed was at 15.63 kilograms. That's actually a pretty staggering saving. That's almost a 2 kilogram saving, which is just impressive. What's even more impressive than that is when we compare this bike to the P-Line 4-speed electric, which comes in at £3,695. A staggering price difference, and the weight difference between it, according to the website, is 0.3 of a kilogram. Absolutely nothing, and you're paying over £700 for that weight saving. Now that is absolute madness, and I am convinced that it's something in the website they've put in wrong, because there's absolutely no point, unless you want a stiffer bike, to get the P-Line over the C-Line. And there's nothing really in the website where you can put the bikes together to do the comparison. And I think if they had something where you could put all the lines together to see them, you would have extreme problems trying to warrant getting the electric P-Line over the C-Line. Now, what do you think? Do you think that this is actually just a mistake that they've put when they've typed in their numbers for weight? Or do you actually think the bikes are that close in weight? The only reason I'm doubtful of it is when I look at the 12-speed variation of the C-Line and the P-Line, because between them you're talking about a whole kilogram difference rather than 0.3 of a difference on it there. But it'd be great to know what you think down in the comment sections if Brompton have actually just inputted this data incorrectly. This brings me to my next thought. Now that the 6-speed electric variation has been discontinued from the line, does it not now make sense for Brompton to drop the 6-speed hub completely in order to simplify production and how bikes are assembled within the production line? Does it not just make sense for to have the C-line also in a 12-speed and 4-speed variation? As we've also just learned from before, the 12-speed system is also lighter than the 6-speed system itself and probably costs only about £100 difference if you look at the price differences between the 4 and the 12-speed itself. So why are Brompton continuing to put a 6-speed hub that's clearly been superseded by a superior valued 12-speed variation? My thinking on this is purely simple. Brompton want to maximise their profits on the bike itself. As I stated in my last 12-speed video, customers have been crying out for this bike itself, most of those customers being C-line 6-speed users. Now, if Brompton were to release this in a C-line variation with the 12 and 4 and a P-line 12 and 4, nobody is going to go for the P-line variation at the higher cost because people aren't overly that fussed about the weight, especially when you're probably only going to be at the end of the day talking about a 1 kilogram difference. What Brompton are doing here is releasing it in the P-line version themselves, so it gives C-line users and Brompton loyalists the reason to warrant the upgrade itself. Now, that's not me saying that we won't ever see it come to the C-line, but I'm going to reckon once they know all that drive and demand for the bike is gone, that's when they will drop the C-line to the 12-speed and the 4-speed variation, because all the customers they wanted to capture have already bitten to the brand and showed their loyalty to Brompton. Now, if this is the case and it's purely speculation by myself, it's just not a very good move from Brompton itself. A brand that prides themselves on trying to get more people cycling or into bikes. Now, releasing a 12-speed variation of the C-line is certainly going to help with that mission by the company, but it won't help maximise their profits at the company. It would be great to know by the Brompton loyalists watching this, would you have opted for the C-line 12-speed variation if it just came out, or would you have still wanted to get the P-line version anyway? Bearing in mind that each variation is probably going to have about £1,000 difference in it for parts you might not even want. You might not care about the weight and you just want the range. So it'd be great to know your feedback, or simply if you think I've blown it way out of proportion, I'm conspiring that something isn't completely true and they've made it on the P-line version for specific reasons and you never expect it to come to the C-line region. It'd be great to know either way, so if you let me know down in the comments if I've either got it right or if there wouldn't be that much of a demand for the 12-speed C-line itself. As with life itself, only time will tell how this event unfolds and if we will ever get the C-line 12-speed and 4-speed variations only. I think it is just a quick thing to remember that they do still always offer an A-line version for anyone that just wants a budget Brompton. That, I still maintain, should stay as it is. It's just a nice internal 3-speed hub. Great little bike to get into Brompton. But I think that will wrap us up there for it today. And I just thought this was a great little video to share, especially between the community itself, because the 6-speed has been an absolute staple for so many years, but is it time for it to go? My conclusion is when you see the weight and price differences, it doesn't make any sense to keep the 6-speed around any longer than it has to be there for. But as always, thank you to the people again that took part on the Friday image poll. It's always very helpful and great to drive engagement with you as the audience itself there. And as always, from myself here at the Brompton Guy, thank you so much for staying tuned to the end, and we look forward to seeing you next Monday. Goodbye.
He's the Brompton Guy.